doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
Out there. We got Chris Gleason joining us now. We're going to go ahead and bring him in. Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Great. How are you guys?
Doing all right. Doing all right. Wanted to bring you on because I know you had some new developments on the election integrity front, one of the issues that we're going to be driving over the next year or two. So let's definitely delve into that.
Sure. So we're seeing a lot of resistance to all of these nonprofits being exposed. And one of the things that people haven't realized yet is that this is a coordinated effort. This is your election fraud mafia. This is their RICO operation. It's being led by, Mark Elias and funded by all of the people who are behind the smurfing and all of the other nefarious election fraud activities. So it was funny. We were having an internal discussion about AOC just the other day. Mm-hmm. And we were running some stuff on her. And lo and behold, riddled with smurfs. And one of the comical things about her is that she uses an organization called Middle Seat. And what Middle Seat does is they help all of these progressive candidates and organizations. And so when you go and you check out Middle Seat, you'll see that they help manage things for AFL-CIO. Cool. They do Beto. They do Biden-Harris, Black Lives Matter. Everybody who's involved in this racketeering activity, they're there.
The who's who of hating America right there.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's, ostensibly it's all Soros connected people, like Move On. Yep. So one of the things that we realized since the last time I was on, or what we found out about, was that there has been a big shift with Move On to move to a new platform that isn't so much Act Blue, and using Act Blue's services and NGV Van, their services. So they're now using what's called the Action Network. And the Action Network, I had done a dive into that some time ago, and the platform is specifically designed for fraud. It's everything that you want, anything that you would want to be able to do for campaign finance fraud, the cloning of identity. You name it, it's got it. And so, these are the organizations that are being funded. We found one organization as we were looking into AOC and some other nefarious actors. It was the FF PAC, Future Forward PAC. Have you guys ever heard of that?
I have.
Okay.
I have.
So the Future Forward PAC, they plowed about a little, I think it was in excess of over $500 million into the Biden campaign. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of money. And it's
where is this money originating from?
So some of the money that is disclosed, right, comes from all of the people who are connected to our smurfing network. So wherever we find smurfing, you have these same names. So you have people like Reid Hoffman, people like Mark Zuckerberg, You have people like Dustin Muskovitz. So Dustin Muskovitz, he's a guy that is all about funding these leftist organizations. Not a lot of people talk about him, but lo and behold, wherever there's smurfing, we find these guys.
Let me ask you, Chris. I mean, we've been on this smurfing thing for 2 years. It's literally almost every week we have been putting this out. We've been putting articles out. I mean, it's not even, I think that, some of the Fox people had it on and mentioned it briefly, but crickets, like nothing is being talked. Even Trump, maybe he's got a DOJ investigation on and he's only been 3 weeks, but this should be just like, this is massive money laundering and nobody will talk about it.
And it's not even offshore. Some a lot of money laundering has an offshore element to it. We're doing it right here in the United States under all our tech.
Win red, act blue, all of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So some of the money is definitely it is foreign money for sure, 100%.
Right.
And I was talking with my business partner yesterday, and we were discussing how bad all of the AML, KYC, money laundering software that everybody is allegedly using, because it's not catching any of this. And
it's not being applied. If this was a MAGA app that was running money laundering schemes, they would have AI in there. They'd track every single one of the people that got in there and shut their bank accounts down.
Of course they would. So, there's an old saying in politics, right? Everybody's dirty, so everybody's clean.
Yeah.
And that's really, the types of stuff that we are seeing here. I mean, there's no way. I mean, one of the good things about the Doge exposing nonprofits is that they, especially with USAID, right? Because we know for a fact that the UN is giving out prepaid debit cards. We know that USAID is giving out prepaid debit cards. So the real question that needs to be asked, that nobody wants to even broach, right, is how many U.S. government prepaid credit cards or debit cards have been used to funnel money back into these campaigns.
Well, and that's why I asked where the money's coming from, because my point is that all these smurfing operations, all these Democrat operations, and when I say Democrat, deep state, Marxist operations on election funding, on funding of these nonprofits, I'm telling you right now, you can go back on every single dollar of that money, and it's coming out of taxpayer dollars, whether it's through the USAID, whether it's through whatever government apparatus. These people are getting their funding from the US government, and they're using it and then money laundering it through this stuff. There is no organic financial support for this.
No, there isn't. There's none. And it's all done through API calls because of the level and scope and scale of the coordination on how all of this goes and is done. So really what needs to happen is the United States does have some fantastic mechanisms already in place for the financing of terrorism and other illicit activities like RICO.
Yeah.
And realistically, the DOJ, Pam Bondi, could realistically walk in, and I mean, we have all of this stuff all mapped out. We have it all soup to nuts. It's all done. I mean, they could go in and start seizing all of the assets of people like George Soros, of Reid Hoffman, of Dustin Muskovitz, of
Samantha Powers, of all these people that have been in these positions in funneling these monies to these organizations.
I mean, they were the ones that created these nonprofits. I mean, you've got the Carnegie Foundation, you've got the Ford Foundation. These are big names. And that's why, really, I think that's why they've been reluctant to touch this. It was funny. I had a conversation with a DC insider several months ago. Mm-hmm. I won't name the name, but we had this conversation. He's like, oh, well, you guys just got it wrong. And I'm like, I got it wrong? He's like, yeah, you got it wrong. He's like, there's some of these transactions are being double counted. And I'm like, let me ask you a question. If you're double counting transactions and you have one individual who's made 60,000 campaign contributions and she doesn't have the money to do it, what difference does it matter if you're double counting?
Yeah. The first one probably was out of whack. But now you did it 20 times. And you know what? The thing of it is that they always come up with these stupid explanations that could be easily proven right or wrong, but they don't do it. If you tell me that an election was run fairly, then show me that it was run fairly. Prove it to me then. Instead, I come up and I show you proof that you've got multiple donations from this person. And instead of you coming and going, well, we were able to go in and look and trace the banking trails, and we were able to show that money didn't go 10 times. It only went once. Okay, prove that. That's easy to prove. But that's always what we get is an explanation with no action behind it. Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, so one of the things was, oh, well, we can't, this stuff's hard to trace. I'm like, no, it's not. Anybody with any kind of a banking experience would know. It's very simple. So the first level, you have the merchant card processing report. Very simple. Gives you all of the information that you need to find out who the bank the transaction was drawn on, whether it was a Visa, whether it was a MasterCard, whether it was a prepaid card, whether it was a debit card, whether it was whatever, right? We know this. I mean, that's just the way it works. And then what you'll do is you look at that data and then you'll say, oh, look, here's a pattern. They're all coming from XYZ prepaid credit card company. Then you go to XYZ prepaid credit card company and say, hand over all the financial records for all these transactions. How did these accounts how did these accounts be, how were they funded? Where's the KYC? Where's the social security number? And, and you just
especially after they've used it 2, 3, 4, 5 times,
100
and most of that stuff,
the 20,000th transaction should probably be flagged, right?
Well, Visa and MasterCard, they're supposed to be a part of this. So Visa's in on it, MasterCard's in on it,
every one of them
is in on it.
Every one of them are. And I'm going to tell you right now, when I was in banking, that stuff would flag automatically. It's not like you had to go back and, well, we got to take some time, pull documents. No, it would flag automatically, and the payment wouldn't go through.
Yeah.
It would flag automatically and shut that transaction down, and it may lock your card up until you can come back to the bank or the financial institution and show that it wasn't fraud.
Yeah, it happened to me during my campaign. We started using, because we were on a really tight timeline, we used Zelle for cash transfers because it was an ACH transfer that immediately credited the account. They shut my account down after like 3 transactions. Yeah. And I had to go, I went to the bank of the person who donated the money because it happened to be my own personal accounts at that bank. Then I went to the bank that I used for the political campaign. And then we had to end up calling Zelle. And they said, there was a fraud flag that was thrown. And it was thrown after 3 transactions. And I'm like, 3 transactions, huh? That's funny. Mm-hmm. So the big thing about election integrity, and this goes across everything, right? It goes across both the funding of the election fraud, but also, the election fraud itself.
Right.
And a lot of them, you're right. We have been put into a position, and I'm dealing with this in lawsuits, where I have to prove the fraud. They don't have to prove that they ran a real election.
They don't have to defend what they did. You have to prove it.
And they get to hide it through illegal denials of public records.
Right. So, that's the idiocy of this whole thing. This election fraud, I'm telling you, and the people of this out there listening, you should not have to prove anything. You should be able to challenge an election, and it should be transparent. Like you said, Chris, last time you were on, this stuff should be all public domain. We should be able to go in and look at it and check it and say, that's fraud. Here's why. I got a document here. You should be able to do that yourself. The people of this country should be the oversight of these elections, not run back out of Maricopa.
we found some crazy stuff yesterday. I mean, crazy stuff. So what we figured out yesterday was that there's a lot of judges and other officials in Florida who also were part of this no ballot thing that we found, where you had all of these many hundreds of thousands of voters who had a vote by mail ballot requested for them illegally. And what we figured out yesterday was that the judge in my trial, she cast she had a vote by mail ballot illegally requested for her. And so when we brought the evidence of this, because that was why I ran, right? Because then I would have standing to sue. We brought the evidence of all of these illegal ballots being requested. They said, "Oh, well, this is sensitive information." And so what we found yesterday was that anybody who was on there who needed to be protected, their information, like this judge, it was there. However, so this judge now has a problem.
Can I get you to hold that just 1 second? We got to run to a quick break. I want to keep you for another segment because I want to get into this in detail. I think this is important. This is a development. We've got to see it. It's one more hand trying to keep the American people from seeing what's going on here. Can you hold on for one more session?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm watching my friends gain more and more weight. And then eventually, I got to tell you, this is a little dark.
Mm-hmm.
But bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition-specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back, cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
We got Chris Gleason with us. Chris has he's here updating us on some of the election integrity issues that have developed in his space there recently. And he was talking about something that occurred here with a judge, a recent hearing you had. Go ahead, Chris, and complete that.
Sure. So I was in the process of preparing my appeal of the judge and all of the egregious decisions that she had made. Todd was there in the court.
Yeah.
And I mean, this judge, she's an activist judge. She
had a smirk on her face. I mean, it was amazing.
It's like all of these activist judges that are trying to shut Trump down right now and trying to shut down the cleaning up of this big money laundering mess. Well, they're all in on it. This judge is a Republican, sort of Republican in name only, really, but
deep state Republican.
Deep state Republican, yeah. And so, but it's not just her. There's other judges in the circuit that are also part of this. So one of the and we're peeling the onion on this really because the county attorney did some really bad stuff, and we've we have even more damning evidence that's coming out. One of the things that we identified was shenanigans in Miami with illegally requested vote by mail ballots.
Yeah, we were involved in that. Yeah.
Yep. And you never guess who was also a victim of that. Ivanka Trump, the supervisor of elections in Miami-Dade, illegally requested a vote by mail ballot for President Trump's daughter. So that's
we've been writing about all this at the Miami Independent in depth. So miamiindependent.com.
Yeah. So
Hey,
I mean,
how do you here's the thing though, Chris, how do you respond when they come back with the same, like I said, they always try to minimize your charges with some just irrelevant explanation. In this case, they go, it's just one thing. It's just one bad actor. It's just one thing. How do you respond?
What we do is we need to peel the onion on this, and we need discovery, and they try to hide it. And so I'm like, okay, because I understand IT. This is what I do. So I started asking for logs and reports, and in particular, in my case, we requested this report that would show the admin activity and the logging in and the changes being made. And they told me that it was going to take 19,000 hours to generate the report. Well, unfortunately for them, we've found that report is easily generated using VR Systems software, which is what VR Systems does. And so how do they try to shut this down? They shut it down in court by sealing every single exhibit in the case. Yeah. So we have to hold these judges accountable. And I really believe that if America is going to survive, Biden has installed a massive amount of these federal judges. Yeah. So didn't Obama. So didn't the Clintons. And we really have to purge these judges. I think that with the with AI, there's a real opportunity for us to find the judicial corruption that is being used to also subvert our constitutional republic. I mean, if we starve the money and we start scrutinizing these judges, I think we're going to find quite a bit.
Yeah. We're going to cover this. Got a segment later on this show about this exact thing. We have to go after these. There has to be a consequence to these judges doing this, and they know who they are. The Dems, Mark Elias. They plotted with these judges already. They know who owes them. They know who they're going to have to get involved in these things. Because if they show up at just a regular judge anywhere in the United States, they're probably not going to go anywhere with this stuff. They have to have targeted specific judges like those 6 that have come out against Trump here recently. So in your case, yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, we have to get to a point where we start holding these people accountable for their judicial activism.
Yeah. I mean, and it's so egregious. And a lot of these judges, what they'll do is they try to hide behind the records exemptions, for their personal properties. And, I mean, we saw a lot of that stuff going on in Arizona. We see it. Yeah. We see it in Florida. Yeah. And, we know from experience that whenever they claim some type of a records exemption or whatever, that's where they hide the fraud.
Yeah, of course. Hey, how do people follow what you're working on, Chris?
Sure. I'm on X as Immutable Christ. Mm-hmm. And if you are interested in a new and emerging AI technology, you can check us out at realtruth.ai. And it's a non-woke large language model and AI. We're doing some really amazing things that nobody else is able to do. So,
hey, Chris, I'm going to be down in Florida this week, so let's connect.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, man.
All right, Chris, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks a lot, guys.